Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for joining us. Suicide among teenagers and people in their low 20s spiked to its highest level in nearly 2 decades, making it the second leading cause of death in this age group behind auto accidents. That means out of every 100,000 young people between the ages of 15 and 24, 14 commit suicide. Mental health experts are focusing on what's causing this terrible trend and what can be done to help these troubled young people.
The CDC points to drug use, street drugs like heroin, but also ones okayed by a doctor. An alarming 200 prescription medications list depressive symptoms or suicidal thinking as possible side effects. And the risk of suicide increases with the number of these prescriptions a person takes.
Any drug that is affecting your mind, your mood, your feelings has the potential to cause a disaster. Most of the school shooters have been on psychiatric drugs, and a great number of them were on psychiatric drugs at the time or shortly before they committed violence. And violence and suicide go together. Are you going to turn your rage out? Or are you going to turn your rage inward?
Social media also comes under fire because studies show it increases the risk for depression, anxiety, and bullying. Christian psychiatrist Daniel Amen is particularly concerned about youngsters on these platforms, warning that parental controls can give a false sense of security.
So even if it's safe, what it's doing is setting them up to spend more and more time on it as they grow. And all the research I know says that's a bad thing.
As the president of the American Association of Christian Counselors, Dr. Tim Clinton says people of faith need to face the reality of suicidal depression in their community.
The church, the community of believers out there need to get more serious about mental health related issues and themes in everyday life. We need to bring this to the front and center, the forefront of the church.
Suicide warning signs include talking about suicide or feelings of hopelessness, contacting people to say goodbye, and giving things away.
If you or someone you love struggles with suicidal thoughts, free anonymous help is available 24/7 by calling the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. If you drink or eat anything with artificial sweeteners, you need to listen to this next report. They not only can hurt our brains and heart, they don't even help us lose weight.
This country's weight problem is only getting worse. The CDC reports a staggering 71% of adults qualifies as overweight or obese. The result? Things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes. In June, the New England Journal of Medicine reported the whole world is getting fatter and paying a price. 4 million deaths, 60% caused by obesity, but the other 40% by just being overweight.
Health experts say the root cause of our weight problem can be summed up in one word: sugar. Most Americans consume about 160 pounds of it a year. Oftentimes, it's hidden in foods you'd never expect, like yogurt, peanut butter, pasta sauce, and bread. Then other times, it's right out front, like in soda. This one can contains more than 9 teaspoons of sugar.
It's no wonder so many people turn to diet sodas containing zero-calorie artificial sweeteners to reduce their sugar intake. But that's a bad choice for a number of reasons. A new Boston University study revealed people who drank diet soda have 3 times the risk of developing dementia and having a stroke. And that's people who just drink 1 a day.
So artificial sweeteners, we think, are much worse than we ever thought.
The Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Michael Roizen says artificial sweeteners like aspartame, saccharin, and sucralose can disrupt what's known as our microbiome.
Your microbiome is the bacteria inside your gut. Those artificial sweeteners cause a separate breed of bacteria to grow inside you.
Neurologist David Perlmutter says artificial sweeteners throw off the delicate balance of good and bad bacteria.
The bacteria that live within our gut nurture the brain when they're treated right. They reduce inflammation, for example. Inflammation is the key player that causes multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and even Alzheimer's, and coronary artery disease, and diabetes for that matter as well.
Perlmutter says in addition to avoiding artificial sweeteners, consider taking probiotics to increase good bacteria and prebiotics to maintain healthy levels. We consume artificial sweeteners to control our weight, but believe it or not, a number of scientific studies show they actually cause us to gain weight. One reason goes right back to the gut.
The body thinks it's starving and holds on to every calorie that a person consumes. So here are people consuming diet drinks and gaining weight. And that doesn't seem to make any sense. And yet, we now see that it's happening because of changes in the gut bacteria. The risk of developing diabetes is dramatically increased twofold in people who drink a lot of sugarless beverages. Who knew?
Nutritionist J.J. Virgin says the artificial sweeteners stevia, xylitol, erythritol, and monk fruit appear to be better choices for the gut. However, they can still lead to weight gain.
But there's also a phenomenon that happens called calorie dysregulation that they saw with artificial sweeteners. When you eat something that's got a sweet taste with no calories, your body can't calibrate the degree of sweetness with how many calories, so it causes you to tend to overeat.
Then there's our own DNA. Genetics predispose an estimated 3/4 of us to have an addiction to sweets, meaning the more we take in artificial sweeteners, the more we crave all sweets. That's why health experts recommend removing the taste for sweets altogether.
Sweet is a learned taste. If you go off sweet, if you go off sugar, if your brain doesn't get used to it, if your taste buds don't get used to it, you can avoid it, and that's a much healthier state.
Virgin proved this theory with 700 sugar addicts.
First, we taper down for a week. We don't cook cold turkey, but then we lower their sugar impact down. We start using more spices and more savory and getting enough protein in and getting healthy fats in. And then at the end of 2 weeks, we go back and test. And these sugar addicts told me that sweet food just tasted gross.
So while eating too much sugar is definitely hazardous, artificial sweeteners can be just as bad for you, maybe worse. That's why the healthiest solution is to remove all sweets from your diet, both real and fake.
The U.S. Surgeon General has declared e-cigarette usage among young people an epidemic after studies reveal 1 in 5 high schoolers vape at least once a month.
Although it's against the law to sell e-cigs to minors, most kids have no trouble getting their hands on them, and even less difficulty hiding them from their parents. The small battery-powered devices turn flavored liquid, which usually contains nicotine, into an inhalable vapor, hence the term vaping to describe e-cigarette use.
And we know that the notion that e-cigarette aerosol is harmless water vapor, something even my 14-year-old son thought was true, is a myth.
Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams and Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar issued a warning to teens and their parents about what many are surprised to discover: vaping poses a serious health threat.
We know that nicotine exposure during adolescence can uniquely harm the developing adolescent brain, impacting learning, memory, and attention. We know that exposure during this critical brain period can lead to further addictions.
E-cigarettes are generally considered a safer alternative to regular cigarettes, but certainly not without risk.
E-cigarettes could help many American adults end their addiction to traditional cigarettes, but we cannot let them ensnare younger Americans into a new addiction.
The Surgeon General and HHS Secretary called for bans on indoor vaping and tighter retail restrictions.
When we come back, we'll tell you about the exciting new field called epigenetics and how it proves our behavior can turn on or off our genes.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
When looking at their family tree, people often worry ancestors may have passed on genetic problems, such as heart disease or diabetes, to them. Well, cheer up, because your genes don't have to control your life. The new science of epigenetics shows how, through our behavior, we can turn our genes on or off.
If you wish your ancestors gave you better DNA, you're not alone. Epigenetics expert Dr. Sarah Gottfried says we could all use an upgrade in that department.
I've tested a lot of people over the past 12 years in terms of genomics, and everyone has 2 to 5 not so great genes.
Including herself.
I happen to have a problem with genes related to weight gain. So I have one gene in particular called the fatso gene, FTO, and it just makes me programmed to be about 200 pounds no matter what I do.
But as you can see, Dr. Gottfried silenced it.
So one of the ways of turning the switch off for the FTO gene is to eat a low-carb diet, kind of the right amount of carbs, mostly from vegetables. The other thing that I do is I exercise for a minimum of 30 to 60 minutes a day. So high-intensity interval training is really good for me in terms of silencing this gene and making sure that it's not raising my body mass index and making me fatter.
Some people are afraid to take these DNA tests because they don't want to know if they have a bad gene like the one for Alzheimer's. But many experts say it's better to know because there are ways to silence these genes.
For instance, in his book, The End of Alzheimer's, researcher Dr. Dale Bredesen lists dozens of lifestyle changes that have proven effective in squelching the Alzheimer's gene for hundreds of patients.
If there are specific exposures, you want to get rid of those. If there are specific nutritional changes, you want to address those. If there are hormonal changes, you want to address those. If there are inflammatory changes, address those.
For example, eating a low-sugar diet, taking certain supplements like curcumin, and avoiding neurotoxic chemicals such as synthetic fragrances.
Alzheimer's disease is no longer a mystery. You don't have to say, we don't know why you get it, we don't know what to do about it. We do know why you get it, we do know what to do about it, and we know how to prevent it.
In his book, Change Your Genes, Change Your Life, Dr. Kenneth Pelletier says DNA is not our destiny.
At first, I thought, like everyone, that genetics determines who we are. Color of your hair, your height, the diseases you'll get, how long you'll live. And then as I got further into it, I realized that was not the case.
For example, twins with the same genes but different lifestyles often experience different health outcomes.
So there may be a 40% that one twin will have heart disease, but not the other. It's very low with cancer, maybe 30%. So all of these very strong genetic pushes for major diseases were not showing up in the twin studies. And they said, what's going on here? And that was the beginning of kind of epigenetics.
So when it comes to our genes, our behavior can carry consequences for ourselves and our ancestors.
Many of us struggle with pain from time to time and pop a pill to feel better. But some over-the-counter pain relievers can do more harm than good.
Robert Carnes is fine now, but not long ago he panicked when he thought he was having a heart attack because his family needs him.
The chest pains were pretty bad and they were really scary.
As it turns out, he wasn't having a heart attack. His chest pains were caused by ulcers, brought on by taking an over-the-counter pain reliever he regularly picked up at the corner drugstore for sinus problems.
That surprised me. I had no clue.
The type of pain reliever Robert took is called an NSAID, short for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. NSAIDs include naproxen like Aleve, ibuprofen like Motrin and Advil, and aspirin. NSAIDs are responsible for a reported 16,000 deaths each year and 100,000 hospitalizations from things like kidney failure, heart attack, stroke, and ulcers.
So really everybody's at risk, but the people who are really at the greatest risk are those who may be taking other medications that could also interfere with the stomach. Say someone who's on a blood thinning medicine, people who are on steroids for other medical diseases, the elderly, people who are hospitalized, have other stresses on their intestinal system, can also be at much higher risk than the general population.
Dr. Daniel Newman says Robert was wise to seek help right away and advises everyone to talk to their doctor about all the medications they're taking, even over-the-counter ones. Discuss how much you're taking, how often, and any unusual symptoms.
Develop a change in the color of your stool, black, tarry bowel movements. You start to have vomiting or nausea. You're throwing up stuff that looks like coffee, black coffee ground-like material. Even in the absence of pain, this could be a sign of intestinal bleeding, and stop that medication and notify your doctor right away.
The good news is many of us can reduce painful inflammation a different way without taking an NSAID, by switching to an anti-inflammatory diet.
One that's low in sugar, white carbohydrates like bread and pasta, trans fats, also known as hydrogenated oils, industrialized vegetable oils, and chemical food additives. These highly inflammatory items are found in abundance in processed foods. On the other hand, anti-inflammatory foods are ones that are in their original state, including unrefined fats like fish oil, coconut oil, and olive oil, raw nuts, avocados, and lots of colorful fruits and vegetables.
When we come back, a ministry helping women in San Francisco.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place, from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel. a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Now to a group of people who are improving the physical and emotional health of women in San Francisco.
Lisa's addiction, prostitution, and poverty took their toll. When she hit rock bottom, a group of women introduced her to Jesus.
I was depressed for 40 years, and now I don't know what depression is.
She started taking drugs at age 8, drinking at 12, and life spiraled. She wound up in San Francisco's most notorious neighborhood, the Tenderloin, where people deal drugs and sex right on these sidewalks. Sleep on them, too.
The women of the Tenderloin are very tough, but also very vulnerable. Many have faced decades of abuse, addiction, and mental illness, and don't know what it means to feel safe.
Psychotherapist Julia Ferderhert left her comfortable Wisconsin home to move into this neighborhood to help.
The longing of my heart is that every woman would know the love of Jesus.
She makes it her mission to know these women as director of Because Justice Matters ministry.
We believe that relationship is one of the most powerful forces for healing and change in the world. Jesus is all about relationship.
The Bible tells us Jesus changed the life of a damaged woman he met at a well. Here at this well, a daytime refuge in the heart of the Tenderloin, women can also meet Jesus.
We had groups about strong women in the Bible, and groups about how to communicate properly, and how to treat others as we want to be treated.
The women of the well led Lisa to Christ.
And they prayed me through a kidney transplant, literally.
Manicure Monday means a time of pampering, which these women rarely experience.
Sometimes when I did the nails on one of the ladies, it wasn't the best, but they left with a smile, I leave with a smile. I know their name, they know my name, and it's about the community and connection.
Women are encouraged to use the well's fully stocked kitchen, often making food to help last through the week after they leave. There are also opportunities to learn and flourish. Females of all ages can enjoy a dance studio, complete with brand new tutus and ballerina slippers. Lisa particularly enjoys the piano.
Well, I learned as a child, and then for many years didn't play and forgot everything. And then this is another blessing from Jesus. I came here and started to practice and remembered.
Volunteers at The Well encourage women to express themselves through art.
I'm focused on being open. I think here in the Tenderloin, you don't know who can come through the doors. So open to the Holy Spirit, what He's doing, what He's saying. And once I realized and put my self-ego down, it's amazing what Jesus can do here.
We were wounded in relationship, and we will be healed in relationship.
After 4 years walking with the Lord, Lisa now volunteers at the well.
I have purpose, a strong sense of purpose, of being a tool of God. A few of the women I know have gotten clean and sober because of my example. They were atheists before, and now they talk to me about, well, thank you, Jesus. And they're all excited and happy and telling me and testifying to me about how their lives are changing.
So while many consider the women in San Francisco's Tenderloin lost causes, one Christian ministry takes the opposite approach, offering hope many of these women never thought possible.
We'll be right back.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
We all want to live heart healthy, but counting calories seems so hard. What if I told you skipping just 300 calories a day is enough to start living a healthier life? New research coming from Duke Health shows even those of us with a healthy weight might benefit from cutting out some calories. And the benefits start at skipping just 300 calories a day. That means skipping potato chips or a slice of apple pie can really have an impact. Scientists looked at two groups of healthy people under 50 over 2 years. One group cut out 300 calories per day. The other continued with their normal diet. Even with this limited restriction, the calorie-cutting group saw several benefits. They lost over 11 pounds of fat, their bad cholesterol decreased, and their blood pressure was lower. They also had higher levels of protective good cholesterol. Importantly, the key blood sugar hormone, insulin, seemed to work better, potentially lowering the risk of diabetes. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Healthy Living. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.